everyone, Demonized Kill here. So we're here with episode 3 of the Trap House series, and today we're going to be focusing on bear traps, tornadoes, and ceiling squirrels. So let's get right into it. We'll go into our fort. So as always, you can find all of your traps in the installations, and these particular traps are going to be in a trap section. If you do not have all the traps, you can simply go to the terrain sets, and you'll see here each terrain set has a price. If you buy all the terrain sets, you will get all the available traps. So you'll see, like, I kind of have 17 of these or 15 of these. You get those by buying the maps. So for anyone or any beginners who don't, or who is wondering, like, oh, how do you have so many traps? Buy the maps. So that being said, we're going to talk about the bear trap 1. You'll notice it's right after the paper bomb, and then we have another type of bear trap right after that bear trap. So you'll see here at the info, the bear trap 1 is a 1 capacity trap that takes up a 1x1 tile. So it's only in one tile, and what it does is it grabs onto the enemy and it prevents them from moving or using jutsus while they are trapped. Our bear trap 2 does the same exact thing, except it is a capacity 3 trap, and it does stall a little bit longer than what the regular bear trap was. So we'll showcase that right now. We'll just save this and then we'll go into it. We will use Sasuke V2 because, yeah, he's integral to this. So the first thing we should have to talk about is how long does a bear trap hold you. So we'll run into there at the 35. So you'll see a 1 capacity bear trap holds you for approximately 5 seconds while dealing some HP damage. So it's really important to know that supports or your subs or allies cannot press buttons. So any bear trap that's capacity 1 is going to stall them for 5 seconds. The next thing we'll talk about is escaping bear traps. So you'll see here the way you mitigate that 5-second hold is by pressing this button. And if you count it, to escape a capacity 1 bear trap, it requires 4 presses. The next thing is movement through those tiles. So we have a line of 2 up here, so you can attack through bear traps. However, you will get trapped on the resulting tile, so we'll kind of showcase that. You'll see I'm auto attacking and I kind of am through it, but I still get trapped. And you notice I've moved through 2 tiles, so I'm trapped twice. Even if you've moved through a tile, you can still get trapped after you finish your animation, so it's really important to know that. Alright, so we're going to end this really quick. So that's for auto attacks. There are also jutsu attacks, that do have forward movement or backwards movement. It's important to know that you can actually move through bear traps using your jutsu. So you'll see here, I'll just kind of use this backward movement to move onto the bear trap tile. But I'm not actually being trapped. And this is really important because some people will put bear traps around defenders. So as long as you're using a jutsu and you jutsu onto a tile and you jutsu off of a tile, you will not get hit by any of those bear traps. However, as soon as you try to attack, you will get bear trapped. So it's really, really important when you're teleporting into tiles, or you're even using your movement skills into defenders, and then you try to run away or you try to normal attack them. If you're not familiar with what traps are around that area, it's safer to actually use one of your jutsus. So we'll talk about that movement again. So right here we have a 3 capacity bear trap. So we'll talk about how long that holds you for. We'll run onto that at the 75. As you see, it does a little bit more HP damage than the bear trap 1. And it holds you for 6 seconds, 175 to 169. So it's a 6-second stall. We have 6 seconds more. 1 second more than our bear trap 1. So we have another one up here, and we'll count how many presses it takes to escape. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. It takes 7 presses to escape a capacity 3 bear trap. So we're going to actually get rid of our capacity 1 bear traps for a second. Actually, no, yeah, we're going to actually get rid of these. So we can put more bear trap 2s. Actually, that's fine. So again, talking about movement on bear trap tiles. So you notice we still have this bear trap up here. I'm just going to use our movement skill onto that tile. I should kind of be on it, but we're going to do one more to be safe. So now I'm definitely on it. You'll notice as long as I'm moving on this tile or within this tile, I am not getting trapped. I can actually safely run off this tile, but as soon as I re-enter it, then I will get trapped. So it's really important to note that you can move on the tile you've jutsu'd onto, but if you move into another tile, like this, so we'll kind of showcase this one. I think I have one right next to it. I do get trapped. And so that's it for bear traps. Next we'll talk about tornado traps. I'm going to store all of these. Again, they're going to be in the trap tab. They're going to be after the barricades. And again, we have, like our bear traps, we have two types of tornado traps. We have the tornado trap 1 and we have the tornado trap 2. So we'll set a bunch of tornado trap 1s here. And we'll set capacity 3 or capacity 2 here. So the main differences between them, just cost wise, is obviously one is a capacity 1 trap and it stays on one tile, a 1x1 tile, and it sends enemies flying, dealing a little bit of damage and confusion. And then our capacity 3 trap is a capacity 3, obviously. It still holds a 1x1 tile and it still sends enemies flying far away. Far away means it's going to send them to an adjacent room. Those adjacent rooms don't have to be linked, they just have to be next to each other, and it's also going to inflict damage or confusion. So we'll kind of showcase those, how those work. So there is a little bit of a stall factor here in the sense that you are flying in the air, and when you land you can take damage or you can land into damage. So we'll kind of like showcase that first, how long you're in the air for. So run onto it at the 30. And I was in the air for about a second. The confusion lasts for approximately 3.5 seconds. So when you get up, you will be confused. So we're actually going to teleport back over here. And you'll notice like the capacity 1 keeps you in the same room. However, a capacity 3 trap will send you flying into an adjacent room. The flight time is the same. However, the confusion does last a bit longer. I believe you are actually confused for about 4 seconds. If you have been hit by a capacity 3 trap, and there's 2 seconds of flying time. Okay, so now we're going to talk about trap set off or movement through tornado traps. Essentially, there are 4 ways to set off tornado traps. We're going to go over or move through them. So the first one is like our bear traps. You can use movement skills through them, and as long as you're moving within the same tile, you will not set that trap off, like so. So I can actually safely run off here now, and if I run back one year though, however, I do get trapped. So that's the first method of navigating tornado traps. The second method is auto attacks. Unlike the bear traps, you can attack onto a tile and then run away before the trap set off. You have just less than 1 second, so we'll showcase that. So it's 1, and then I get set up. It is important to know that the tornado trap is active for 2 seconds. Well, the tornado trap 1 is active for 2 seconds. We'll just kind of count that. So I was at the 85, it lasted till 83. However, the tornado trap 2 is active for, I believe, 3.5 seconds. So we'll attack here on the 173 or 172. And you'll see it's not gone until about 169, 168. So it's active for 3.5 seconds. So that's the first method of navigating tornado traps. Essentially, you can movement through them with jutsu. You can attack onto them. Some characters do have trap clears. We'll kind of showcase that. It usually says in their jutsu whether it clears traps or not. So you'll see here, and setting off traps. We'll kind of showcase that. The ranges are different between characters. Not every character has the same type of trap clear. But we'll just kind of showcase Edo Itachi. And so you'll see we actually set off all 4. So you do save a little bit of time there. So for our next method, we have we will use Tamari. And I do want to make it clear, every character can trap clear with auto attacks. There's always a little bit of forward movement. It's mostly about figuring out where that movement starts and where that movement ends. So you'll see here, Tamari actually is not considered someone who has forward movement, but you actually can see her moving forward a little bit. So that's where her movement is. You can do that on the first attack, like so. As soon as I get the line, that's it. But every character can do this. So it should be right here. Every character can do this. The next method, I have to go back. This is not a method I'm very, very well or good at. This is the walk-in. Essentially, tornado traps have, like any trap, there's a little bit of space between the actual trap and the tile, or within the tile. So you can actually inch onto a tile. We're kind of going to move this very, very slowly. And we're going to just slightly adjust. The thing is, you want to hit the corner of the tile. You don't want to go into the center line of the tile. So there it is. And if we move a little bit to the right, like I said, I'm not very good at this. It's a little bit slower than the actual one, but you'll see, like, that's another way you can do it. And then our last method is a method that you might be familiar with from the Gokunin, or not even a method, but it's more of an issue. People will actually set up tornado traps like so. Well, not exactly like that, but instead they will put an installation right after it. The installation means when you target, so we're going to actually we'll use a shore for this. And what happens is you can no longer auto attack because you lock onto the target. So you'll see I'm locked on. As soon as I try to move, I dash into it. It's not controlled at all. So there's two methods to deal with this. You can either do the creep-in method like I showcased earlier, or you can do a wall run. A wall run essentially means you're just running towards the wall, and you'll see I can actually modulate how much movement I want, and you just run slowly until the tornado trap sets off. And we're gonna do that one more time, just because I didn't stop in time talking too much. But essentially, there's a time where you run into the tile and the trap gets set off, but you can actually stop moving. So we're gonna, I think it's gonna be the second tile right here. But so this one is a little slower. You do want to take it slow because it does take some practice. But you'll notice I am moving forward, and as soon as the God, I don't know why I can't do it with a shore. But yeah. Right. So that's a good pace. Where is it? Okay, hold on. There it is. And so those are the four methods of mitigating traps, or tornado traps rather. So next we'll talk about ceiling scrolls. So we're gonna store all of this. Ceiling scrolls are right after the bear traps. You'll notice again, like our bear traps and our tornado traps, we have two types of ceiling scrolls. We have the ceiling scroll 1 and we have ceiling scroll 2. So we're just going to go ahead and lay some down. We'll go back to V2. Oh, I'm sorry, we did not read the info. Let's do that. Okay, so ceiling scroll 1, again, it's a 1 capacity trap. It's a 1x1 area, so it's 1 tile, and it essentially activates a ceiling jutsu, and it prevents all enemies in range from using any other jutsus. Simple. All right. Capacity 3 or ceiling scroll 2 is a capacity 3 trap, but essentially has the same effect as a capacity 1, except the duration is a little bit longer. So we're going to take a look at that. First we'll talk about how long that seal lasts, or how long so again, scroll activates. You'll notice you actually have a second before the seal effect starts. The seal does last for about 3.5 seconds, and the scroll actually is active for 3 seconds. So you have a 3-second scroll. So we started that one at 22. It should be gone by. Oops, sorry. I ran too far in. All right, so we're gonna do the first one again. So 36. So 3.5 seconds it lasts for. And then the actual seal, I was sealed at 28. And again, it lasts for 3.5 seconds. Our seal scroll 2 is a little bit longer. The scroll itself activates at 2:16. Again, active for 3 seconds. But I think the seal is about 4.5 seconds. We're going to have to go through that. That's what my notes say. Actually, alright, so seal starts at 3:35. And we're sealed until 2:31, 2:30. Yeah, so that's 4.5 seconds. Next, we'll talk about the movement through. Unfortunately, unlike the bear traps or the tornado traps, you cannot use movement jutsus through this. No matter how you move through the seal scroll, it will activate. So you'll see I can't actually do that. However, teleports are different. Teleports are actually skipping the space. So you can move through sealing scrolls with teleports. However, you can't move through them with actual, I want to say, jutsus that have forward momentum, essentially. Alright, so next we'll talk about the range of that seal. For that, we're going to actually set up a couple of barricades. Let's move in a little bit. And so this is our sealing scroll 1. We'll put a barricade here. So that's 1 tile away or up to 1 tile away. There's 1 tile of space between this barricade and the scroll. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to activate all the barricades. Okay, so the scroll is in the middle. You'll see if you're 1 tile away, you will get sealed. So essentially, like when you're using sealing scrolls, it's actually ideal to trap people in a space where they can't escape from because there is a slight delay. We'll kind of showcase the delay now. Essentially, like if you have a defender right after a seal scroll, they can still get used. The person running into the scrolls can still use their ultimate. We'll just kind of showcase that. I've actually done that a lot in my Goku animations. I actually kind of count on people putting sealing scrolls places so I can use my ultimate instead of like a bear trap. So you'll see the scroll is active, but I can still do this. So this is not a good deterrent for someone if you're using a defender. So now we'll talk about sealing scroll. We'll actually move them a little bit further away just to kind of showcase the limit. So now you'll notice we have 2 spaces between the sealing scroll and the barricades. So activate it. And so you'll see, as long as you have at least 2 tiles of space, you can actually avoid the sealing scroll. But it's also important to know from the top, there is about a 1.25 or 1.5 space. So essentially, like if you're not all the way to the back of the second tile from the top, you can still get sealed. But that doesn't really happen for this one. So you'll see like I actually have a lot more space here. But from the top, essentially, if you move into it, you can be sealed. And same thing that happens for the seal scroll 2. We're going to showcase that now. And then we'll kind of talk about common defender strategies and how you can kind of deal with those. So again, seal scroll 2. It does actually look a little bigger, but the range is actually effectively about the same. There might be a little bit more space at the top. But essentially, if you have at least 2 tiles of space away from the scroll, you can escape the effect of it. We'll just kind of like run up through it and to the top. So you'll see. But you'll see kind of encroaches a little bit more over here. But if we're going to move the barricades back in. Sorry, I'm going to zoom in a little bit. So move this up, this down, this down. Oh my god, come on. But you'll notice within one tile, it's effectively, yeah, essentially like if they can't move away from it, then you see it actually gets the entire thing. There's no spaces, unlike the other one. So it looks like it fills it up more, but it is about the same range. So lastly, before we end this episode, we are going to talk about some common things you can do to mitigate these effects. So we'll use our summoning tab. The first thing we'll have to talk about for defenders is the distance they are from the room, because essentially we'll use an easy defender. I don't want to use someone who's going to one-shot me a lot. Where's Shishwi? Shishwi, where are you? Where is Shishwi? There he is. Okay. So you'll notice the first thing is we have him on the first tile. In the first tile, there's no space to put any traps, so we're not going to start him here. Obviously, as soon as you enter the room, he's going to spawn. So move him back one tile, and now we'll put up a line of bear traps. So we'll go traps. That's actually sufficient. We don't have to do like the whole thing. But you'll notice if a defender is ever this close, you actually don't have to run very far into the room to spawn them. It's actually in your best interest to kind of sit right here and then kind of avoid them. Use your ultimate, use your jutsus, whatever you have to do to kill them. So now we'll talk about two spaces back. Again, two spaces back. So you'll see, we'll just count that from here. So this is one, it's two spaces back from the traps, my bad. No, actually it's two spaces back from the room. So 1, 2, and then here it is. Again, you do not have to run very far into the room. You'll notice I don't have to actually set off any of these traps before he spawns. So we'll just kind of come right here, but I do have to move closer. So I guess right that line right there, no traps to get set off. Very, very easy. Again, so the third line, it's really, really important that we talk about this because I see people like running rooms all the time thinking they have to run deep into the room to spawn defenders, and you actually don't. So now you'll notice we have them 3 tiles back, or 3 tiles back, 1, 2, 3. So again, even from 3 tiles back, I don't have to run into these traps to spawn him. I only have to get a little bit closer, and you'll see he still spawns, and I'm still free to move. Did not set off any of those bear traps. Now, when we talk about tile 4, this is the most important tile. So when we move 4 tiles back, you'll now notice there's a lot more space. Essentially, at this range, we do now have to at least enter partially the first tile. But as I showed earlier, there are some ways of doing that very carefully without actually spawning the defender. So the first one you can do is obviously so we're actually going to go up to here. We're actually going to set off this first trap to show that I can set off the trap without spawning the defender. So that's one. The other thing is we can use our movement skill as I showcased before. And then move off. So we've entered the room successfully. The other thing is we can actually inch forward a little bit and do set off that trap, but we do it in a very controlled fashion. So we're just gonna move a little bit forward. And you notice I'm actually on his straight line, but he still didn't get set off until I attacked forward. Same thing goes for tornado traps. If there's tornado traps, we're gonna do it this way. It's still safe even with tornado traps to auto attack in and then run off. But again, you're not clearing a bunch of space. You're kind of doing it from a little bit further back. So you might do it from like right here or right here. If you're not certain about the distance, you can actually move towards the wall. And you'll notice, depending on how you're oriented toward the wall, there's very little forward movement. So if you're unsure about like how you can do your own pacing, that's one way to like control it. I do it slightly off on an angle right there. So you set off the trap without setting him off. Set off trap. Oh, there again. We'll do it from the center now. So you'll see I'm able to set off these traps without actually spawning him. So we'll do a ceiling scroll for the last one. The ceiling scroll is actually even simpler. Only thing you're going to do is now as soon as you spawn the scroll, you just run back. That's all it takes. So I'll start this. I don't know how much time we've done on this so far, but I wanted to not have it go on too long. We're at 26 minutes. Jesus. So you'll see, I was actually able to set off all traps without any interference from him. Our last method we will talk about is if you have a sub and you're uncomfortable doing any of the methods I mentioned previously. So we will now put down a combination of stuff. So we'll use EMS. You just push your sub into the first tile. That's all you have to do. So see, and this actually works if there's nothing in the room. Sometimes if there's actually installation in a room, that makes it easier because there's no effort on your part. But you just inch your sub into whatever trap, into that first tile. Again, you can do it without actually spawning the defender. So once he's done there, and he runs back to me, I'll now push him on this one. And I'm able to easily, quickly like take control of that situation. Alright, so hopefully that helped answer any questions anyone has about these 3 traps or some tactics to deal with them. Bingo Book episode 14 shall be out this week, sometime probably towards the end of the week. I'll also be working on Trap House episode number 4, or yeah, number 4. We're moving along now. You know, if you do like this series, please comment, like, subscribe. Once we get to 500 subscribers, we will do 2 bingo books per week. Once we get to 750 subscribers, we will do 2 Trap House episodes per week. Once we get to 1,000, then we'll get to the other series, but I'm still working on the other series, so we won't even get to 2 yet. We'll kind of focus on doing 1. But yeah, that's it for episode 3. I hope everyone's doing well. I hope this helps. If you have any questions, drop them down below. Comment, like, subscribe. Demonize Kill out.